up, guys?
Any plans today?
I got big plans. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna wait for Katie to come back.
I miss her so much.
This is Duke.
When The Secret Life of Pets arrived in 2016, it tapped into a universal curiosity that almost every pet owner has entertained at least once. What exactly do our pets do when we leave the house? Set against the bustling, vertical landscape of Manhattan, the film transforms ordinary apartments into miniature kingdoms and city streets into epic battlegrounds, crafting a story that blends slapstick comedy with surprisingly heartfelt themes about loyalty, jealousy, and belonging. At its core, the narrative revolves around Max, a small terrier who believes he has achieved the perfect life. His world is structured around routine, morning cuddles, afternoon naps, and the comforting certainty that he is the center of his owner Katie's universe. The apartment isn't just a living space, it is Max's territory, his fortress, and the emotional anchor of his existence. The early sequences establish this rhythm with infectious energy. As soon as the humans leave for work, the building comes alive. Dogs host secret parties, cats raid refrigerators, birds rock out to heavy metal, and hamsters bounce through improvised playgrounds. The film cleverly anthropomorphizes each pet without losing the charm of their animal instincts. There's a sense of controlled chaos, an unseen society functioning parallel to the human world. Through these moments, the movie builds a vibrant ensemble, showcasing how each animal interprets freedom differently. Some seek adventure, others comfort, and some simply want snacks. Yet, for Max, the day always leads back to the door, waiting for Katie's return, reinforcing the security he cherishes. That security is shattered the moment Katie brings home Duke, a large, shaggy mongrel with a messy personality and an uncertain past. The contrast between Max and Duke is immediate and deliberate. Max is small, disciplined, and accustomed to being adored. Duke is physically imposing, emotionally needy, and clearly carrying the baggage of abandonment. The tension between them isn't just comedic friction, it represents a deeper fear that many experience when faced with change, the anxiety of being replaced. Max's jealousy manifests in subtle territorial disputes that escalate into outright rivalry. The apartment, once harmonious, becomes a battlefield of passive-aggressive maneuvers and clumsy sabotage. The film handles this conflict with brisk pacing and visual humor, yet beneath the laughs lies an emotional undercurrent. Max's resentment stems from insecurity, not cruelty. Duke's defensiveness hides vulnerability, not malice. Their quarrels eventually spill beyond the safety of the apartment when a series of miscalculations lead them into the streets of New York City. Stripped of their domestic comfort, they are thrust into an unfamiliar urban wilderness filled with alleyways, traffic, and unpredictable threats. The city, once glimpsed only through windows, becomes a labyrinth they must navigate together. It is in this sprawling environment that the narrative introduces one of its most memorable elements, Snowball, the deceptively adorable white rabbit who leads an underground faction known as the Flushed Pets. Snowball is a masterstroke of character design and tonal contrast. With wide eyes and a fluffy exterior, he initially appears harmless, but his rhetoric burns with revolutionary fervor. He represents pets who have been abandoned, forgotten, or mistreated, channeling their resentment into a plan for revenge against happy-owned pets and their oblivious owners. His presence shifts the movie's tone from domestic comedy to high-stakes adventure, injecting urgency and unpredictability into the plot. Snowball's army occupies the underbelly of the city, sewers, abandoned factories, shadowy corners where discarded lives gather. Through this faction, the film subtly addresses themes of neglect and the emotional consequences of abandonment. Duke's backstory gains resonance here. His fear of being unwanted mirrors the grievances that fuel Snowball's crusade. The film doesn't dwell in darkness, but it acknowledges that not every pet story is filled with warmth. This tension adds dimensionality to what might have been a simple rivalry narrative. Meanwhile, back at the apartment building, Max's friends begin to notice his absence. Characters like Gidget, the fluffy Pomeranian with an unexpectedly fierce determination, step into the spotlight. Gidget's crush on Max becomes the catalyst for a parallel rescue mission that unfolds with its own comedic flair. Her transformation from pampered lapdog to relentless adventurer is one of the film's most satisfying arcs. Rallying an unlikely coalition of pets, including a cynical cat, an elderly hound, and even a hawk, she navigates the city with single-minded focus. This subplot enriches the story's texture, showing how loyalty can inspire bravery even in the most unlikely heroes. As Max and Duke stumble deeper into the urban maze, their survival increasingly depends on cooperation. The city tests them through encounters with animal control officers, narrow escapes through traffic, and confrontations with Snowball's militant followers. Each obstacle chips away at their hostility. Duke's longing for his former home reveals a softness that Max begins to recognize. Max, in turn, demonstrates ingenuity and courage that Duke comes to respect. Their shared vulnerability fosters empathy, gradually replacing rivalry with solidarity.
The film's humor remains kinetic and accessible. Physical gags, rapid-fire dialogue, and visual exaggeration, but it also employs quieter moments to anchor the emotional stakes. A scene in which Duke revisits the neighborhood where he once lived stands out as particularly poignant. The realization that his old home is gone underscores the fragility of security. For Max, witnessing Duke's heartbreak reframes his own jealousy. The threat isn't Duke, it's the fear of losing love. This shift marks a turning point in their relationship, moving them from adversaries to reluctant allies. Snowball's escalating campaign amplifies the tension. His charisma makes him both comical and formidable. He frames his rebellion as justice, rallying abandoned pets with fiery speeches that parody revolutionary rhetoric. The absurdity of a tiny rabbit commanding an army of misfits creates comedic contrast, yet his anger feels grounded in authentic pain. When Max and Duke cross paths with Snowball, the narrative converges into a high-speed chase that threads through bridges, rivers, and city streets. The action sequences are staged with animated exuberance, transforming everyday urban infrastructure into playgrounds of peril. Throughout these sequences, the film maintains a brisk momentum characteristic of modern animated features. The visual style is bright and polished, capturing Manhattan's density while keeping the focus on expressive character animation. Fur textures, exaggerated facial expressions, and dynamic camera movements heighten the sense of immersion. The city feels expansive, yet navigable, a live-in backdrop that reflects the chaos of the protagonist's predicament. As the climax approaches, alliances shift and loyalties are tested. Snowball's vendetta collides directly with Max and Duke's quest to return home. In a moment of irony, the very pets Snowball seeks to punish become instrumental in thwarting greater danger. The film uses this convergence to underscore its central message. Division born from insecurity only perpetuates harm, while empathy can bridge even the widest emotional gaps. Max's willingness to risk himself for Duke crystallizes his growth. Duke's reciprocal loyalty affirms that belonging is not a zero-sum equation. The rescue operation led by Gidget culminates in a chaotic yet triumphant confrontation that blends humor with spectacle. Vehicles collide, cages are overturned, and Snowball's grand plan unravels in slapstick fashion. Yet the resolution doesn't vilify him outright. Instead, it leaves space for transformation. In true animated fashion, redemption arrives not through punishment, but through unexpected kindness. Snowball's hardened exterior cracks, hinting that even the most embittered heart can soften under the right circumstances. When Max and Duke finally return to the apartment, the emotional equilibrium has shifted. Max no longer sees Duke as a threat, but as a brother in arms. Duke finds the stability he yearned for, embraced not only by Katie, but by a community of pets who now recognize his worth. The building's daily routine resumes, yet the pets' internal dynamics have matured.
The chaos of the city adventure has forged bonds that routine alone could not create. Beyond its central storyline, the film succeeds in its broader cultural impact by affirming the intimate bond between humans and animals. It invites audiences to project personality onto their pets, while reminding them that companionship carries responsibility. The comedic exaggeration of secret pet lives becomes a lens through which viewers reconsider the emotional worlds of their own animals. The notion that pets harbor complex feelings, jealousy, devotion, fear, courage, resonates because it aligns with everyday experiences of pet ownership. In the broader landscape of animated cinema, Illumination continued to refine the accessible, humor-driven style it had popularized with franchises like Despicable Me. The brisk pacing, pop-infused energy, and ensemble-driven comedy reflect a studio identity focused on broad appeal. Yet within that framework, The Secret Life of Pets carves its own thematic niche by centering domestic intimacy rather than epic fantasy. The stakes are personal rather than cosmic, rooted in living rooms instead of kingdoms. Critically and commercially, the film demonstrated that original animated concepts outside established fairy tales or sequels could command significant audience interest. Its Manhattan setting provided a recognizable yet versatile playground, and its premise required no elaborate mythology. The universality of pet ownership bridged demographic divides, appealing to children drawn by bright visuals and adults who recognized their own experiences mirrored on screen. The movie's humor operates on dual levels, pairing child-friendly antics with subtle observational comedy about urban life. One of the film's strengths lies in its economy of storytelling. Despite juggling multiple characters and intersecting plot lines, it maintains clarity. Max's emotional journey anchors the chaos, providing continuity amid the spectacle. Duke's arc adds depth, while Snowball injects volatility. Gidget's subplot ensures that the narrative never feels isolated from the apartment community. Each thread converges organically, reinforcing the overarching theme of chosen family. By the time the credits roll, the film leaves viewers with a reaffirmed sense of warmth. The adventure may have been exaggerated for comedic effect, but its emotional truths feel grounded. Change can be unsettling, jealousy can corrode relationships, and fear of abandonment can distort perception. Yet, empathy and shared adversity can transform rivals into allies. In that sense, The Secret Life of Pets functions not merely as animated escapism, but as a parable about adaptation and acceptance. Years after its release, the film remains emblematic of a particular era in animation: fast-paced, urban, ensemble-driven, and emotionally accessible. It captures the microcosm of a Manhattan apartment building and expands it into a citywide odyssey, all while preserving the intimate scale of a pet waiting at the door. Max's journey from possessive favorite to compassionate companion mirrors a universal maturation process. Duke's search for belonging reflects the longing inherent in every displaced soul. Snowball's rebellion embodies the consequences of neglect, even as it leaves room for redemption. Ultimately, the film answers its central question with both humor and sincerity. What do pets do when we're not home? They form friendships, nurse grudges, stage revolutions, confront fears, and, above all, wait for the people they love. Through vibrant animation and kinetic storytelling, The Secret Life of Pets transforms that simple curiosity into a lively, heartfelt narrative that continues to resonate with audiences who see their own furry companions reflected in Max's eager gaze at the door.